Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Joey Hand. Of course, we'll be in the 15 this weekend for Rick Ware Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series at the IMS Road Course. How's it going?
Good, man. Yeah, it's all good. Just doing some sim work this week and, normal thing, all the normal stuff.
You've been in all the road courses this year in the 15. How was, of course, you made your Cup debut last year at the Roval. Now you've been in it for all the road courses this year, COTA, Road America, Sonoma, and then, of course, this weekend at IMS. Of course, you'll be at Watkins Glen and Roval as well. We'll talk about what this track brings.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're leaving my favorite track of Road America. That was, it's always a cool place to be. It's pretty awesome being in the top 10 shootout. I think that's been for sure the highlight of my NASCAR career so far, is being ninth in the top 10 shootout. That was big. It was big for Rick Ware. It was his best. He informed me it was his best qualifying in Cup, so that was cool. But yeah, I mean, Indy. Indy's Indy. I mean, it doesn't matter which direction you're doing, what part of the track you're doing it on. The opportunity to race at Indy or possibly win at Indy makes it pretty special. So I mean, I think this place is, things that stand out to me will be, it's a pretty flat racetrack. There's not a lot of topography. We're coming from a couple racetracks like Sonoma and Watkins Glen that are these, special American tracks where you go up and down hills, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to know as a driver about where to brake, where to place your car. Indy's probably a little more straightforward. It's more about the asphalt changes. There's difference in asphalt. There's a few different types of curbs. You drive up on and off the banking, which is a little bit different. So, that's the stuff that stands out to me. Wide turn one, so the start and the restarts are going to be more similar to COTA, where you get 4 and 5 wide. You got to be careful of those guys, send it down the inside, stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think, I feel pretty good. We've been making progress with the car, the balance of the car. Road America, obviously, we had a really good pace. I'd say 3-lap pace, but we struggled on the long run, and that's hopefully we can get figured out for this week is just be better on the whole tire run, and then we have a shot. Yeah.
So, what is this track like? Have you ran here before?
Yeah, I have. I actually ran this race, slightly different configuration as far as like the fast chicane goes, but IMSA ran here back in 2012. I drove me and Tony Kanaan in one of the Ganassi prototypes. We had a pretty good run there. It was, it's a pretty memorable one because Tony had won the Indy 500 the year before, whatever. He was coming into that race he won it in that. So we were teammates there. So we ran pretty much the whole configuration, but we ran that inner loop as far as turn 4-5 would go instead of fast chicane. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, again, this place it's going to be a lot about, you asked what the track's like. I guess what I see is, 3 big brake zones, right? Like turn 1, the middle stretch down into turn 7, and then a pretty good one into turn 12. So brake zones will be very important, which is pretty similar to Road America where brakes were important. And I honestly think what we're seeing with these cars is the long run stuff. Like, how good are you compared to other guys in the long run? Certain guys like us, we were quick in the first 3 laps, like I said, at Road America, kind of same at Sonoma, and then just didn't have the pace. We weren't bad, but we just didn't have a good enough pace in the long run. So, that's our focus, is to try and make the car go the distance, because that's clearly a lot of it.
So this race, I know, provides what has it been like at the road courses this year for running with Rick Ware and doing all this other stuff? I know you've been doing a lot of simulator work and helping all the Ford drivers out with the road course stuff. What has that been like this year? Now that you're in the car for pretty much all the road courses.
Well, man, as we get early in the year, it was tough because I ran last year at Charlotte in the old car. I had all winter off, and then I showed up 5 races into this deal and ran COTA, and these guys had already been doing it. You know what I mean? So I'm just like this new guy in there again. And then after COTA, it was 10 weeks off till I went to Sonoma. It was like, man, oh man, these guys, they learned a lot about the cars up till then. Everybody gets out every week, even though they're driving on ovals. Everybody's really comfortable with the car, and so I jump in. I'm still trying to find my way, just with the everything, steering wheel, the seating position, whatever. So it's tough from Coda to Sonoma. But these races now that we get closer and closer, Sonoma, Road America to Indy to Watkins Glen, it's at max 3 weeks off. So it's a big difference for me when I hop in for that first practice. I don't feel so much as a fish out of water in the car, right? So I feel a lot more comfortable just jumping in and getting after it. As you can see, Road America, I mean, obviously is a place I know well. Really all these places I do, but first lap we were quickest, like popped right off, and that's a big difference. That didn't happen in Sonoma. So yeah, I mean, that's a big difference. That's a big deal for me. Getting to learn how pit lane works is a big deal to me. That's probably the biggest difference in the whole race. I mean, racing's racing when it's all said and done, but pit lane, when I came from sports cars, we had a pit speed limiter. So when you come down pit lane, you're always on the pit speed limiter. You just go wide open. It does all the work for you. Now you still got to get to the pit lane line quick, but you don't want to undershoot too far. And then you got to get up to that speed really quick. And I'm just like super nervous about getting a penalty and like ruining the race. And so I've been just kind of running under. And as I run these races more, I'm getting better and better in pit lane. I tend to get in and out of the box well, but my overall speed down pit lane, running close to the limit, has something to be desired. So that's getting better. I mean, everything's really getting better. I'd say, racing with the guys, I'm learning guys a lot more, figure out who wants to race with me, who doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think guys are figuring me out too, where you can tell that guys that maybe didn't have some confidence in me to race with me earlier in the year, we're racing fine together now. So, I mean, it's a big deal for me. I'm super thankful for Ford to give me this opportunity with Rick Ware. And, this is I don't know, man. In this stage of my career, I never thought I'd be racing in NASCAR and especially qualifying the top 10 in NASCAR Cup race. And so I'm just trying to, have a good time with it. The best thing I can do for me is be comfortable, have fun, and that produces results in my life. That's how I produce results. So comfort level's coming. I'm always having fun. So we're getting close to some results here, I think.
Yeah. And then after that, I want to also ask you, and then we'll get to IMS in a second, but this question actually just popped up. Watkins Glen is the next road course, and I believe that's where you're running next. Obviously, you have tons of experience there, but one thing
Yeah.
you don't, NASCAR does not run the boot. I know a lot of people would like to see that, but what's that going to be like heading into one of these things?
Well, remember though, I have experience on this track also, because for many years we ran this track. We ran Watkins Glen twice a year in the sports car world.
Sure.
And so we ran this track. It's just a faster version, but
Right.
I have very good knowledge of this version also. So I'm pretty comfortable with it. I mean, the thing about Watkins Glen that's different, if you think about Watkins Glen at Sears Point, the guys that have been in the series a long time have a lot of time on those two tracks.
Yeah.
The guys that don't aren't much different than me as far as with a cup car, but I have a pretty good amount of time on the track, just not in a cup car. So, I think Watkins is a different kind of place altogether. I mean, it's a fast place. It's a totally different track. There's no stop and go really. It's floating speed. Everywhere is floating speed. Setups in the cars will be different. I think your stamina is going to have to be better, because it's going to be what I call a huff and puff. You're going to be huffing and puffing a lot because, mentally it's straining because it's quick. You're smashing curves at the bus stop chicane. I mean, it's one of those places that has the topography that I talked about, like one of the great American racetracks that, up through the S's. I mean, you're holding on. It's not a cruise up through the S's. So I think it's going to be, another one of those great ones. I'm excited for that one also. Watkins Glen is just a great fan place. Like, spectators are awesome. Fans are always great at Watkins Glen. So, for me, it's like I said, this is something that I mean, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, how's your NASCAR Cup race going to go in 2022? I'd say NASCAR Cup. That's funny. But so I think I'm just doing my best to, like I said, have fun, be as comfortable as possible. And that comfort level is really coming quickly here. And it's making me better every week.
What are these cars? You've been in different types of cars before, and a lot of this next gen car kind of sounds like, or Gen 7 car, as some people like to call it,
Yeah.
sounds like a GTD car or what you ran when you were in IMSA. Is that kind of what you take away from that? Because it sounds like it.
It is. It's similar to what we had prior to the new era of GTD. So like GTD, a few years ago where they didn't have quite as much aero. If you look at GTD cars now, they have a ton of aero pushing down from
Right.
the top side. So the big old wings, the dive planes, all that. What you see now is not this. What you saw a few years ago before we had all that, is what this is like. The cars were a little bit heavier. They had a little bit more roll. They had a little less tire. That's the kind of car this is. And what stands out to me about this car is everybody talks about being, oh, it's a sports car now, and because it's got a diffuser and a splitter and all this stuff, and it's making more downforce from the bottom, but it's a heavy car. And that's what you recognize a lot here, is that this car is, it's quite a bit heavier than any car I've ever driven. And so it drives more, a little less GT than people would think. You have a better tire, the 18-inch wheel, the 18-inch diameter, and a little bit wider tire, yes, but you have a little more weight than the old car. And so you're still putting a lot of load on the tire. And that's what I'm seeing, is that tire deg has been a big thing. How you manage your tire from a driving standpoint, from a setup standpoint, all that stuff has really come into play more than I probably anticipated. I was thinking about driving the car, just getting around the track, getting down pit lane more than anything. And these things are becoming factors. And a lot of it has to do with the weight. Cars have a lot of roll. People are familiar with driving cars, because they're heavy and the weight's a little bit high, there's a lot of roll in the car. And you're in this window of like, okay, how much do I slow down the roll versus how much do I kill traction? Right. So anything that slows down the roll is stiffer, and that normally is worse for traction, things like that. Right. So, and of course, degradation or tire life, whatever. So it's a matter of like how much traction I get without sacrificing roll. And that's the game everybody's playing right now. And you see guys every week, everybody's learning week to week, but you see you really see the differences in the cars and what guys are doing. And, there's quite a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, going into this weekend, what are we going to expect out of with you? What do you want to see out of this team, and after the good run that you had at Road America?
Honestly, man, there's no reason why we don't qualify in the top 10. I'm going. The big thing for me is to get in that top 10 shootout again, and that gives you a really big opportunity to even go for the pole. I mean, if I'd have done it a little bit better at Road America, it was a top 5 car. For me, being my first time in this top 10 shootout, I was really excited about that, and I probably put too much of a smoothie on it, as I say, just to like get it in the hunt. And in the top 10 shootout, I just didn't get enough out of it. And knowing that, we got one in there, we got a top 10 for Rick Ware. I think I honestly there's no reason why this car doesn't go in the top 10 or better in qualifying. And qualifying is not everything, that's obvious, but and I've definitely learned in these races, running the top 10 or 12 or even 15 is a lot easier than running behind 15th. When you get back in the 25th area, 20th, whatever you want to say, it is much more of a dogfight, because everybody believes they should be in the top 10 at that point, even if it's early in the race. And so I would like to live at Indy more in the top 10 longer in the race. And that's the goal, get through. Obviously, first you got to do it in qualifying, get in there, but then, have the first pit stops be better than they've been, from all sides from all factors, just get in and out of the pits without losing a lot of spots. And see where it goes from there. But, you never know. The crazy thing about this NASCAR version right now, with how we have to roll out and not make any changes, is you leave the simulator here and, you do whatever you do, and everybody's got an idea of what they're going to put on the car, and everybody's got the same situation. You roll out and it's what you got. So if you missed, you missed. If you didn't, you didn't. So there's a small amount of things you can do, but it's not like, in the IMSA days, we'd have an hour-and-a-half session. You'd sleep on it overnight. You have another 45-minute session the next day. I mean, you could completely change the car if you wanted. And this, we can't. We go out, practice, 10 minutes later, qualify. You got what you got.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Joey Hand, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Good luck at the
No problem, buddy.
road course this week.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.